So I wanted to share this clip with all of you. Vivek Ramaswamy dropping a truth bomb and destroying, I suppose, this uncharismatic. What the hell is she even wearing? I just realized that. What is this? It's ugly. Anyways, off topic. This uncharismatic CNN reporter.
At the debate last week, you used the phrase inside job to describe what happened on January 6th. The next day, Capitol rioter Alan Hostetter highlighted your comments at his sentencing. He is going to prison for 11 years. Hostetter threatened members of Congress. He brought a hatchet, knives, pepper spray, stun batons, tactical gear to the U.S. Capitol. Are you concerned that a convicted felon like that is now promoting your comments in court?
Okay, so I'm gonna. Well, let's look at the question asked. So basically, it pins Ramaswamy with, oh, the inside job stuff, right? And then the question ends with, well, how do you feel about a convicted felon using this? This is a very simple ad hominem. Okay, this isn't a logically substantive question. Ramaswamy's answer here is perfect because it completely ignores the felon part, because that's just junk. That's just mumbo jumbo. No one cares. The real meat and potatoes here is about the inside job. And realize how she didn't specifically ask, well, what's the evidence for the inside job? That wasn't the first question. The first question was, oh, well, how do you feel about a convicted felon using your message? She doesn't, she knows. She knows. That's why she phrased it like that.
So here's my concern, Abby. And I want to tell you guys where I'm at. If you had told me, it's close to 3 years ago that January 6, 2021 happened. If you had told me 3 years ago, back when I was a biotech CEO, not steeped in this world, I was just consuming passive media, but was focused on my world of developing medicines. If you had told me that January 6th was in any way an inside job, the subject of government entrapment, I would have told you that was crazy talk. Fringe conspiracy theory nonsense. I can tell you now, having gone somewhat deep in this, it's not. I mean, the reality is this. We do have a government, first of all, we have to acknowledge, that has lied to us systematically over the last several years about the origin of COVID-19. About the Hunter Biden laptop that we were told was false by 51 CIA experts and otherwise before we now know that it was true. You can go straight down the list, the Trump-Russia disinformation collusion hoax, all of it. Now we come to January 6th. The reality is we know that there were federal law enforcement agents in that field. We don't know how many. I think it's shameful. And if I may finish just answering,
well, let me
this is really important.
I'm gonna go ahead.
No, can't talk about that. No, stop. We can't let this get out. This undermines our narrative. Stop, please stop.
And interrupt you here because
I know this establishment doesn't approve of this message. I know
that there were federal agents.
We should be able to talk about this.
You're saying that there were federal agents.
This is important to talk about.
You are saying there were federal agents in the crowd on January 6th.
Yep.
There is no evidence that there were federal agents in the crowd on January 6th.
So why, before Congress, when pressed on what the number was, they didn't say there were none? They just couldn't say how many there were.
So you're saying that...
Yeah, so to add on to that, I saw a testimony. I want to say Christopher Wray, but I feel like it wasn't. They asked, well, how many federal informants or something like that? And they said, well, I asserted my Fifth Amendment privilege, or declined to answer, something of that sort. And, it's like the Mark Furman thing in the O.J. Simpson case. If you don't know, Mark Furman was the lead detective on the O.J. Simpson case, and he found the bloody glove. He was the one that gathered all the evidence. Now, the evidence was quite damning, but this is the way O.J. got out of it. Mark Furman, basically, because he kind of got trapped because of his Furman tapes where he said all that racist stuff. But in any case, he was asked the question, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case? And Furman was like, I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege. Like all the other questions he was asked in that same, what's it called? Testimony? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyways, it's like, that's not a question you assert the Fifth to. Like, you should be able to answer that. It's very suspicious that you decline to answer a question that simple. Did you plant any evidence? And in this case, were there federal informants in the crowd?
That you have not seen any evidence.
So
that
we've
there
seen
were,
multiple.
and so you
we've seen
assume
multiple informants suggesting that there were. We know people were FBI informants who were asked to.
Is there any evidence?
May I just finish this, and you can come back and question me?
Let me clarify.
I know it's very uncomfortable for you.
I'm going to clarify my question.
I know this is an uncomfortable issue for many people, but we have to do the truth here.
I'm going to clarify my question because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm asking.
I understand this deeply. And I told you I was with you 3 years ago. I'm not there now.
Where is the evidence?
Yes.
Where is the evidence that the government had applied?
So let's do this.
an inside job.
But no, I'm going to tell you what an inside job is, because I'm not going to,
violence on January 6th.
I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth. I'm going to put my words in my mouth. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that.
Where is the evidence that the government was involved in planning or executing January 6th?
So I'm going to give you hard facts. And if I may, Abby, I know this is going to be a little uncomfortable, but we're going to go through this, and you can push back on it after that. And you can push back on that. And let's do this fairly. Why did they suppress footage of now what's been released, 200 hours of footage of shooting rubber bullets into that crowd, shooting tear gas into that crowd? You didn't see that before. You saw what the response was to that. Now you see footage coming out of actually rolling out the red carpet for Capitol Police allowing
Ramaswamy,
people in
again,
right through the front door.
The vast majority of the footage
evidence should have been released before, Abby.
Mr. Ramaswamy, the vast majority of the footage shows
and my deeper
police
question
officers
is this.
being overrun
and I want to talk about one more
by
case.
violent
this is really important.
rioters. That's
I'm
what
going to
the
give you
vast
I'm going to give you some hard
majority
facts.
of it shows.
So here's what entrapment is.
Cherry pick.
I'm not cherry picking. If I may finish, Abby. If I may finish, Abby. I'm not cherry.
CNN talking about cherry picking. That is comical. You see what they did to Trump. Everything they did to Trump was cherry picking.
Examples.
To the contrary. To the contrary.
You know who cherry picked?
You know who cherry picked? The government.
That is what happened.
The government cherry picked 12 hours of footage when there was 200 hours of footage. So cherry picking was the government, not me. Release the whole thing. And let me just finish one thing too, because this is super important as a topic.
So
I think this is a civil libertarian issue of our time.
When
Gretchen Whitmer's kidnapping. I want to be really clear on this, because it's the same issue in the same FBI, same even part of the FBI. 3 people who were in an alleged plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer were acquitted at the end of trial because it was entrapment. That is, government agents put them up to do something they otherwise wouldn't have done. They gave them credit cards with spending limits of up to $5,000, encouraged them to buy munitions, plan something they weren't otherwise willing to plan. So much so, and I want people at home to know this, especially CNN viewers to know this, is that one of the jurors went to those defendants and apologized afterwards, gave him a hug, apologized, seeing what the government had put a poor guy up to who had to go to some Mexican restaurant across the street to get hot water. These people were exploited with credit cards up to $5,000, FBI agents putting them up to a kidnapping plot that we were told was true but was entrapment. Same thing with the Capitol Police, people letting them in freely. Many of those people then being charged.
Look,
the government cannot put you up to do something and then charge you for it.
Look,
that's wrong.
I don't want to have
to. Wrong to the left or the right. I don't want
to have to interrupt you. I really don't. But I don't want you to mislead the audience here or at home.
I think they've been misled by the mainstream media.
So unfortunately, that's it. Actually, hold on. Let me try to find the full thing. All right, we're back. I found the last section of it. And look at the title here. Abby Phillip, this is CNN's YouTube channel. Abby Phillip fact-checks Vivek Ramaswamy conspiracy theory. Thus far, we haven't seen any fact-checking. She just says, well, Vivek, there's no evidence. You're wrong. There's no evidence, blah, 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 instead of refuting the evidence. So I don't see that as a fact-check.
Police, people letting them in freely. Many of those people then being charged.
Look,
the government cannot put you up to do something and then charge you for it. That's wrong.
I don't want to have
to. Wrong to the left or the right.
I don't want to have to interrupt you. I really don't. But I don't want you to mislead the audience here or at home.
I think they've been misled by the mainstream media.
14 people,
the mainstream media has misled them.
14 people were charged in that plot. Yeah. A majority of them were convicted.
I said 3 of them were acquitted on grounds of entrapment. That's a fact. Dispute me. Was I wrong about that?
What folks need to understand.
Was I wrong about what I said?
What
I
folks
was not.
need to understand
3 people were acquitted on grounds of entrapment.
9 were
convicted. A juror apologized.
9 were convicted.
Yeah, but the 3 who were put up should have never got to that stage of a trial.
The January 6th
That's unacceptable in the United States.
Look, I just want people to understand. 3 people were acquitted. 9 people were convicted in that plot.
So that's not a fact check, because isn't fact checking when you say, well, I say, well, the sky's red. It's like someone goes like, no, I'm gonna fact check you. It's actually blue or whatever. That's it, because I said something that's incorrect. Vivek didn't say anything incorrect there. 3, she admitted it. If you look at it, like, oh yeah, 3 were acquitted. The point is 3 were acquitted on entrapment. That's the point Vivek's making. It's like, well, 9 were convicted. That's not a fact check, and nor is it even relevant. Who cares if 9 were convicted? The point is 3 were acquitted on entrapment. Why were they acquitted on entrapment? Why is entrapment even a variable in this case, right? So again, I mean, just CNN misinformation as always. Hopefully this video doesn't get flagged. It shouldn't. I didn't say anything crazy. Then another W for Vivek Ramaswamy.